Hey, I am back with another video. So today I want to talk about my road trip. In the last video, I told you all that right after I got my vehicle shipped here from the United States, that I took a road trip, and I did. I am just like, so when I look back at some of the things that I did my first year here in Merida, I am just so proud of myself. And in some ways, I'm actually a little surprised, like, because I did some stuff that I don't know if I would have ever done this before. So here's the story. One of my friends here was doing the half Ironman. The half Ironman took place in Cozumel, Mexico last September. And so my intent was months before that. I said, oh, I'm going to come over and support. I already had my hotel and everything. And the plan was that if my vehicle wasn't here before I left, then I was just going to rent a car and drive over. So not sure if you know this, but Cozumel is actually an island right off of the coast of the tip of the southern tip of Mexico. And so I had to drive to Playa del Carmen, and then I put my my truck on the ferry, and then the ferry took me and my vehicle over to Cozumel. So I I am just thinking about how potentially scary this could have been, because I've never done like a road. I'll take that back. Maybe once or twice I've done a road trip by myself, but it was always going somewhere that I had already been before, so never done a road trip by myself, and definitely not in a strange place, but I did. So I get up, and so Merida is about 4 hours. So it was about a 4-hour drive over to Playa del Carmen. I got up early that morning, and I drove, and it was the most peaceful drive I have ever seen. So people have asked me, like, do you all have highways in Mexico? And I'm like, yes, we do. And so it was a highway. The highway was extremely clean. One thing that you will see here, there are lots of signs that say, that you're not allowed to throw trash on the highway. And if you do, the fine is like 20 million pesos. And you could do the conversion on that. Well, no, it's 20,000. So mil in Espanol is 1,000. So correction. So the sign says 20 mil pesos, but that's 20,000 pesos. Still, it's a lot. And so that's the penalty for throwing trash on the street. So I guess that attributes to why it was so clean. So the whole time that I drove from here to Playa del Carmen, like I said, it was a very, very peaceful ride, not a lot of traffic. I never saw a police officer have like somebody pulled over. Now, in Mexico, they have like these little stations where police are just posted up. And I guess they are just there as their presence just makes people feel safe or make people do the right thing. I'm not sure what that's about, but that's the only time I saw police. I only saw police at those stations. So never saw police like pulling people over or anything like that. I never saw anybody getting like a ticket, no accidents, anything like that. It was a really peaceful ride. So once I got to Playa del Carmen, I got there way early because I wanted to. One thing about me is when I'm driving somewhere that I've never been before, I always leave extra early because I got to give myself time to get lost. And I don't like stress. I don't like, rushing or being frustrated. And so if there's anything I could do on the front end to eliminate stress, I will do it. So I got there about an hour before I needed to be there, which was an hour before the actual ferry left. But it allowed me to get in line. So you're physically in line with your vehicle. And I just kind of sat in my vehicle with the AC running because it was way too hot to be sitting in there otherwise, and just listened to some music. I made a couple of calls, talked to people, whatever. So then I had to drive I drive a SUV. So I drove my truck onto the ferry. That was a little freaky, right? So But I did it, you know, drove my truck onto the ferry. It's really, really cool. Like you drive your truck or your vehicle onto the ferry and they direct you where they want you to park it or whatever. You park your vehicle and then you walk up to the top of the ferry and you're riding your vehicles down below, you're up below. They had like a concession stand. It was like an hour trip from Playa to Cozumel on this ferry. So I took the vehicle over to the ferry, and then once we got to Cozumel, then we had to same thing, drive our vehicles off of the ferry. And so that was also funny, because not funny, but like interesting, because it was like you drive up this ramp, and so you gotta do your speed just right, because if you're not going fast enough, you're gonna roll back down. So that was kind of interesting. Got my car off the ferry, and then I had my car over in Cozumel. But because of the race and a lot of the roads were closed, it literally was parked. You know, like I only drove it maybe once. And other than that, I don't think I drove it once. Now that I think about it, I didn't drive it because a lot of the roads were closed, and so it was just easier to navigate with taxis. One thing about Cozumel is Uber is not in Cozumel, so you can't take an Uber. You take taxis, and the taxi was like outside of the hotel. Another cool thing that happened to me when I went to Cozumel is when I got to the hotel to check in, they said to me, "Oh, Miss Harris," and they spoke English. "Miss Harris, we have good news for you." And I said, "What's the good news?" And it's like, "Well, because of your status with Marriott," I was titanium elite. Because of your status with Marriott, we have upgraded you to the penthouse suite. So I was in a penthouse suite by myself, unfortunately, but I was in a penthouse suite. It was amazing. I think I'll have a video of it. Maybe I'll include that video in this video, right? So I got upgraded to the penthouse suite, and I spent the weekend in Cozumel. My friend was amazing. She's like my hero. She did it. She did her half Ironman in like 8.5 hours. I cannot imagine exercising for 8.5 hours, but she did it. And she had so much support. I met a lot of her friends who are now my friends too. It was a really good time. And so on Sunday after the race, same thing. I drove back to the port, put my vehicle on the ferry, and the ferry took us back over. And then I drove from Playa del Carmen back to Merida. And so that was a really interesting trip. I said the next time that I go to Cozumel, I think I will just take the bus and then take the people ferry, because there's a people ferry only where it doesn't, have vehicles. Since I wasn't able to really use my car anyway, and at least if I took the bus, I could either take a nap or be on Wi-Fi or something like that. But again, an interesting experience. So I am interested if you would, in the comments, tell me about a time that you did something that you've never done before that was kind of scary. I'd love to hear about it. I'll see you guys in the next video.